Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we are back with John Arthur Martinez, who just played a wonderful set of music for us. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome, Helen. Thank you.
Well, we want to know all about you. We know you're a songwriter and a singer and a guitar player, and you're wonderful at your trade. So tell us where this all started.
I guess it's a complicated thing, but my dad was a drummer years ago. And so I think seeing my dad play drums with some of the Mexican bands in South Austin and some of them from San Antonio was very influential, getting to see that. And then there would be family get-togethers on the Martinez side of the family where my dad and his brother and his sister would sing beautiful harmonies on some of the traditional songs, and so that's where perhaps the bug came. But my mom wisely left my dad when I was very young, and my dad had a big heart, and he would give the shirt off his back and his paycheck to somebody who needed it.
Wow.
With not necessarily remembering that maybe the family needed it too.
Yeah.
And so my mom made a good choice, but my dad is just wonderful. He was a former Marine and former Army guy, and he wound up playing drums with a country band. They were called the Texas Drovers. And you might recall that in the early days of Freddie Fender's success, he had 2 number-1 hits, and he didn't really have a band, so he would hire different bands to back him up. And so my dad on the drums and the Texas Drovers would back up Freddie in the early days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's how some of the bug came. And then years later, after I got out of high school, I had another uncle on my mom's side of the family who gave me a significant amount of money at graduation, and he gave me a very specific instruction, and he said it very seriously. This was not a joke. He said, "I want you to buy something you don't need."
Oh, wow.
And he says, "I don't want to find out you spent this on tuition or books or something for college." He said, "Buy something you don't need." And so at that time, I didn't think I needed a guitar.
Right.
I bought a guitar.
Very nice.
And I had a cheap little Montgomery Ward guitar that really was nothing more than a it didn't really play into, and it didn't inspire me to become a musician.
Right.
But that guitar that I bought,
And what kind of a guitar was it?
it was a Ventura guitar,
Okay.
and it really played well in tune.
Do you still have it?
Yes, it was another one of those great Japanese guitars. I wound up giving it to my best friend in college whenever I bought my first lawsuit Takamine.
All right. You've
Yeah.
got one too?
Yes. Yes.
That's great. All right. So were you, as a child, being that your family had so much music going on, did you learn to play the guitar like when you were really young, or?
No, all of my energy was focused on being a great athlete.
All right.
I played Little League baseball was an early passion. Probably baseball was one of my first passions. I ran track. I did the cross country. We played neighborhood basketball. I played football, but as a freshman, I was probably 4'11" and 98 pounds, and so my dad, seeing me play against the big guys from Westlake who looked like they should be on varsity,
Right.
he saw that and he said, "Mijo, I don't think this football is."
No.
And I said, Dad, and I was real cheerful, and I said, "Dad, I bought a tennis racket, and I think this tennis thing is going to work out for me." And so I became a really good tennis player. I wound up going to state, wound up getting recruited by the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor, got a scholarship eventually, and eventually became the captain of the team, and eventually challenged and became the number 1 player on the team, and that's when my knee blew out.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
And so that's when that guitar really took center stage. All of that energy that I put on becoming a tennis player, all of that energy I started, using it to write songs really. And I had several books of songs I would learn. And one of the best ways to become a good songwriter is to learn the good songs that other people have written. And so I would learn songs by Hank Williams and James Taylor, the Eagles, Dan Fogelberg, America. So, those were some of the early guys that probably I learned,
Right.
to play. Willie Nelson, of course, living so close.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So what made you think you could write the songs? Was it something that just came to you or came naturally?
I was already writing poetry. It just so
Okay.
once you have an instrument, then you can take that poetry. In fact, I had a teacher years later. My fourth grade teacher told me that after I left and moved out of Round Mountain, moved to the big city of Marble Falls, and left Johnson City, she said that I had written a poem that she had published in a children's book, and she couldn't find me, didn't know that I had moved to nearby Marble Falls,
wow.
and she said, "I hope you don't mind." And I said, "No, I didn't mind at all." But
How much money are you making?
But that
Yeah.
was so I started that. I remember this one teacher had at the end of the last period on every Friday, she would have this open situation where she would say, if one of you wants to share something that you've written, then this is the time to do it. And there was another guy that always had something. Can't think of his name right now, but I knew I almost always had something
Right.
new to write, and that was in fourth grade. And then fifth grade teacher challenged us to write a book of haiku. I had a sixth grade teacher that challenged me to not just me, everybody in the class, to write a book of limericks. And limericks are great practice for becoming a songwriter.
Right.
So anybody who had a fourth grade teacher like Miss Bryant, a fifth grade teacher like Miss McCoy, and a sixth grade teacher like Miss McCoy, you have no choice. And then you learn how to play guitar. You have no choice but become a songwriter.
I guess so. I can totally relate to the poetry thing because I'm a poetry writing short story kind of girl, and before I met Randy, that's what I did, just for my own self satisfaction. But when I met him as a songwriter and a musician, then we were able to kind of turn those things around. And I don't know how to play guitar, but I got a Randy, so
Well,
hey.
you got a great guitar player, yeah.
That's awesome. I know that you can say, or you can name drop, because you have really worked with some big names. You've opened for them. You've played with them. Tell us a little bit about the people
have you ever
you've
seen
rubbed
Forrest
elbows
Gump?
with.
Have you
Yes.
seen Forrest Gump?
Yes.
Sometimes it's like I'm Forrest Gump, like I'm in the right spot at the right time. There was there was a lady.
You have to have the right attitude, which you've always.
Yes.
Well, there was a show called Nashville Star that attracted a lot of singer-songwriters. In fact, many that people know, like Miranda Lambert, wound up competing the same season I did, and neither one of us won. A guy named Buddy Jewell won, but we were in the top three, and that led to a lot of different doors. Casey Musgrave was also on Nashville Star, and I don't know how many of you. Gosh, what is her name? She just played the Grand Ole Opry, and she was also on Nashville Star, and I just went blank on her name. I'll think of it here in a minute. But after Nashville Star, a couple of people asked me if I would play the Ben, Willie, Darrell event. It's a songwriting event. Ben Crenshaw, Willie Nelson, and Darrell Royal, the Longhorn coach, the legendary coach that won several national championships. They would do this big songwriting event to promote and money and raise money for his East Austin charities. And he and his wife Edith were always really passionate about giving to kids. In fact, I did another event with them for the Boy Scouts of America. That's another story. But so there we were finished with this songwriters event, and Coach Royal leans over to me and he said, "If you guys don't have anything going, I'd like for you guys to stop by my suite. We're going to have an after-hours picking party." And so I thought, well, we'll be there. So he gave us the suite, whatever it was, suite C31 or whatever it was at the Barton Creek Country Club, and this event, Doug Supernaw was there, and Pat Green was there, and a lot of great songwriters that you guys would know, and it was hosted by a legend named Freddie Powers. He was going to host the after hours picking party, and so Coach Royal rules applied. And if you're not familiar with what Coach Royal rules are, Coach Royal would start each songwriter's event, and he would have the songwriters doing their own original material. He would say, folks, this is a listening night. We've got some of the finest songwriters on the planet here with us, and we want to be very respectful. And if you need to talk or visit, that's fine. Do it outside. Mm-hmm. That's what he would tell them. Yep. And he would start everyone, and they had a light. I think it was a red light. And so when that red light was on, no talking. As soon as the light went on, no talking. And Freddie would host the event. And so we were invited to this after hours picking. And I didn't quite know how to get there, but Coach Royal said, if you ask, there's Pat Green right there. Yeah. We're just talking about Pat Green. Somebody's cell phone ringer was Pat Green, but it sounded kind of like Pat Green. But anyway, so we were going to go to the front desk and find out how to get to Coach Royal's suite. And there was this little short guy standing next to my wife, and my wife goes, dude, are you going to the after hours picking that Coach Royal is hosting? And he said, I didn't know about it. And so, and he said, and my wife, and he said, where is it? And we said, well, it's suite such and such, and C31, whatever. I'm making something up now. And he said, I know where that is. And so Matthew McConaughey got us a cart to go, and he drove us to the after hours picking. So it's kind of like I said, I didn't plan that. Wow. So here we are. I walk in with my wife and Matthew McConaughey, and I had done this event with Coach Royal and Edith for the Boy Scouts. So Edith loved my wife, so she made room. My wife's sitting next to Edith. I'm sitting next to Coach Royal, and Matthew McConaughey's over to the side. And Doug Supernaw and Pat Green poke their head into the door, and by this time they have perhaps been overserved. And Supernaw hollers at Coach Royal, Coach, if you want us to play, we're going to have to do it soon because I got to leave. And so everybody's like, I know what everybody's thinking. Well, why don't you leave? You know, that's what everybody's thinking. Yeah. Because you don't do that at Coach Royal's picking party. No. I mean, Whitey Schaefer was there, and there were so many other great writers that were there. And so, but Coach Royal, being the gracious host that he was, he said, okay, and he got him in next, and he got in, and because he'd been overserved, his language was perhaps a little too racy for everyone's taste, and people were getting annoyed with it. So then Matthew McConaughey stands up, and he says, I want to hear Martinez sing.
Oh, wow.
You can't make this stuff up. And I was like, no. And so anyway, they usher Supernaw off the stage, and Pat Green is being really Coach, I didn't have anything to do with this, Coach. It wasn't my idea. I'm sorry. And Pat's being real apologetic. And one of my old buddies from Marble Falls told me that afterward he punched out Doug Supernaw, and that he quit Doug's band. He played steel, fiddle, and guitar. Oh, wow. Guy everybody called Goose, but that's another aside. But anyway, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, it's my turn to play, and there I am in front of all these great songwriters, and I decide to do the rhythmic River of Love that I ended the show with, because everybody knew that from the television show that I was on. And McConaughey says, do you mind if I play percussion with you? And I thought, I didn't see any percussion instruments anywhere. He said, no. He said, so he lifted his shirt up. He lifted his shirt up, and he says, I can play percussion. And, this was shortly after the conga incident where he was caught. I don't know if you remember that. It was on television and whatnot. But he lifted his shirt up, and he played, this was the high part. and the low part was on the stomach, and he played congas.
I would have loved to have been there.
There he is. So I'm gonna tell you, it's like John Arthur Martinez, the Forrest Gump of Texas music history. They're always like, wow, amor, amor, and he's with his shirt up, and I'm not sure any of the ladies were looking at me though.
They weren't. Sorry, they weren't. That's wild.
So yeah, these kind of stories that there's.
Thousands, I'm sure.
Hundreds and hundreds
of
stories.
And you just mentioned a TV show that you did.
Yes, that was a strange thing because a lady who had heard me play a flea market in Johnson City said, "You need to get involved with this show called Nashville Star. They're looking for singer-songwriters." And so I thought, okay, all right, it's another one of these contests. I'd already entered the Country Showdown, and I'd already been part of that, and I thought. And then another lady who had hired me to do a private party at a ranch in Round Mountain sent me the clippings from the Austin American Statesman that was saying, hey, they're looking for country singer-songwriters, not just country artists, but country singer-songwriters. And by this time, my wife had already been pestering me about doing this, and so I finally relented. I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I entered this contest where they had regionals in Dallas and Austin and different places across the United States, Nashville and Atlanta and other. And I wound up coming in second. And so they said only the winning singer-songwriter would advance to the regional competition, which was going to be held in Houston. So I thought, okay, well, I gave it my best, and I came in second. And so the judges came back over to me afterwards, and they said, not the judges for the event that night, but the eventual judges for the show on national television were in the audience because they wanted the best talent to land on the national audience. They said, we've been given the authority by the folks at Nashville Star, the producers, that if we see a talent that is deserving, we can give them an at-large invitation to the regional competition. So she said, we would like for you to come to the regional competition. So nice. I came in second at the local competition in Austin. And a guy named Prentice Barnum wound up winning. He's from Uvalde, and he's a great country singer, a great songwriter, traditionalist. And so there we are in Houston, and we're competing for the regional for the right to get to go to the nationals, and the regional contest winners would then advance, and the top 8 or whatever it was would get to go to the main event in Nashville that would be nationally televised from the Gaylord complex where they have the Grand Ole Opry. And so, unfortunately, though, I came in second in Houston. There was a young lady named Miranda Lambert that won in Houston, and so I thought,
damn her.
Yeah, so I thought, well, this might be the end of the road, and so then I thought, well, I gave it my best. I got second in Austin and second here.
Right.
So then I get a phone call from Tracy Gershon, who works for Sony, and she said, if you would do a video entry, we have an online video category, and we're going to pick 1, maybe 2 people from the video category to join. And so I did a video, and I sent it to them, and they selected me to go to the national competition.
Wow.
As the video entrant, because I lost already in Austin, and so anyway, crazy enough, I came in second in the national competition too, behind Buddy Jewell. And yeah, so it was a crazy experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Not many people can have had those experiences. You are Forrest Gump for sure. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about Nashville Star is that it was replayed on Canadian country television. It was replayed on Australian country television, New Zealand. It was there.
I had fans in South Africa and Japan. It was like crazy
yeah.
because it was replayed. A lot of these places don't have the same programming that we have, so they replay the content that they want to replay. And the country music channel in Australia, apparently it was a pretty big deal down there too.
Yeah.
So that kind of exposure has allowed me to do a lot of these.
Really catapulted you on your European tours,
yes,
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. I know that you're going to just keep on writing and keep on playing. There's no doubt about it. And you're fantastic at your craft. You have something coming up that people might want to know about, though, in January of 2025.
Yes, I definitely want to let people know. In fact, there are two people that are here that were part of my previous cruise. They're in the room in the music room tonight, and Mike Blakely and John Greenberg and myself, John Arthur Martinez, collectively, we're known as the Outlaw Firm, just because Blakely, Greenberg, and Martinez sounds too much like a law firm. So,
it does.
Yes, from San Antonio, and so anyway, yeah, we do have and Lenora. What we'll do is let me put it on the camera just so folks can see it. There is even a QR code if folks want to scan it as well. But Lenora Shope has done these events for a lot of musicians over the years, and she asked Mike and Johnny and I if we would be interested in doing it. And of course, we said yes. And I think it goes to Costa Rica.
This is a
from
cruise.
Galveston. Yeah, cruise.
Music cruise.
A music cruise from Galveston to Costa Rica. And what I wanted to do to make it unique, what I wanted to do is because you can go on a cruise like that for cheaper, but she's built in the price so you can actually pay the musicians to do what we do. But our goal is to try to connect with everybody who goes and help them write a song about the love of their life or whatever they want to write about, maybe about their dog. But this year, you've given me an idea that's what we want to do. And so anyway, that's what we're going to try to do this year with folks. And the Texas Heritage Winery is their wine club is participating in this as well. So it's a pretty cool thing. So anyway.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun.
And I don't have all the details yet because we're just in the early stage, but I did get an offer again to go back to Europe, most likely in Spain and Barcelona. The previous tour took me to Marseille and to Barcelona, and this year it's going to start in Barcelona, and hopefully it go from there, and that would be later in 2025 as well. The very first time I went to Europe was because some guy came up to me, and he was emphatic. And this was when I was in my younger days, and I was playing a place where I was doing some covers, and people would stick money in the tip jar and say, "Hey, can you play, Margaritaville?" And we do Margaritaville 5 times a night on these 6-hour shows, or La Bamba. This was after the movie came out. Probably did that 10 times a night sometimes if on a busy night. So this guy came up and said, "Can you play Country Roads?" And he came during the middle of the week, on the middle of the week when I was playing there, I would do my original stuff because it was a quieter listening environment. Mm-hmm. But he came up and said, "How about Country Roads?" I said, "Well, I've never played it." I said, "But I think I could remember the words." I started writing down. So, I can. I said, "I don't think I can pull off the bridge, but I think I can do the verses and the chorus." And it made him so happy, and he tipped me nicely. And then he called me back. This was in the summer, and he called me back on New Year's Eve. This is easy to remember. And I was playing that same venue, and this was already New Year's Day because we had already dropped the ball, so to speak. And so they said, "John Arthur, you got a phone call from Vienna." And the manager, he was a Scottish guy. He called me Arthur, take it upstairs. So he said, "Go take it upstairs where it's quieter." And so I went upstairs, and it was that same guy, Benno Gruber. He said, "This is Benno Gruber calling from Austria. You are coming to Austria." And I said, I would love to. He said, "No." He said, "You played my favorite song." He said, in these wealthy Europeans, sometimes they'll have these 4, 5, 6 week vacations. And he was in Florida, he was in Texas, he was in California. Everywhere he went to these cool singer-songwriter places. Nobody would play it. Oh, no, I'm doing my own stuff. Sorry. And so I played it for him. And he said, I want to thank you, and I want you to come do the grand opening for my new beer garden.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And so I was up there a month playing in his beer garden. He drove me everywhere, and that's the first trip I took to Europe.
Oh, wow.
And just, being, at the right place at the right time. And then years later, and I'll make, because there's a lot of crazy little things that have happened since then. But that was my first gig, and it was just solo with me and an acoustic guitar. And so now I'm playing fast forward after Nashville Star, and I'm playing at the San Antonio Rodeo at one of the smaller stages underneath a tent, and it's pouring down rain. Where do you think everybody floods to whenever it's pouring down? They get under the tent. It looks like we're rock stars there. Yeah, and of course we take advantage of it and we give them a hell of a show.
Yeah.
And there's a guy there from Lyon University named George Carrier, and he hears the band, and we're really on a roll, and the crowd is into it, and they're packed, and it's packed, and he just, it's just a wonderful experience. So he says, I host a music festival in Craponne near Lyon. We run it, and he said, I'd like for you guys to come and play the festival. I said, sure. And I'm wondering what it would have been like if it was a beautiful day and everybody was outside buying their popcorn and their sausages and their tacos, and there was only a handful of people in the tent. I'm wondering what kind of response he would have had. But anyway, because it rained that day and it was a perfect storm, we went on our first band tour, and that was 2006, and I've been going back almost every year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, when did you open for Elton John?
That's a crazy story, too. I told you I played tennis. Some of you, I mentioned that, .net, JohnArthurMartinez.net. He plays tennis. JohnArthurMartinez.net. And so there's a local group in Marble Falls that was concerned that there weren't enough public tennis courts because the city had just destroyed some of the courts to put a basketball court up where a tennis court used to be, and that left only one public court. And so anyway, a group of influential tennis players said, we want you to be part of this presentation, and we're going to make to the city council, we got to get some courts done. And so anyway, I became part of their little group to try to get more tennis courts. Well, this guy that organized it, he started working with Andy Roddick, the number one tennis player in the United States. At that time, he had recently won the U.S. Open, and so I started doing events with them to raise money to build courts, not only in our community but to help kids in San Antonio that typically can't afford a racket. They were buying rackets and giving them world-class tennis instruction, and we have a very poor community near Marble Falls that could use that kind of help too. And so anyway, there I am being part of it. So Blanche Roddick has seen me play several times, so she comes up to me, Andy's mother, and she says, I think you would be perfect for this event that we're doing. She said, would you? And then she asked me if I knew who Bernie Taupin was. And I said, well, yes. I said, I have I have almost all of those early albums, that all the way to Captain Fantastic, and I would sit there and read I said, I know that he wrote the lyrics to every one of Elton John's songs. And she said, well, Elton is going to do our big event this year, and Bernie will be there. And I said the right thing. If I had said I didn't know who Bernie was, she might.
Right.
But she said, would you like to open for Elton John? So I said, of course. So
let me think about it.
So, and I've got to open for a lot of cool things, but that's probably, that's legend. That's a superstar.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool thing.
You have had so many cool things happen in your life. I'm kind of jealous.
Well,
but you
wrote a song about a pool hall.
That's right. But it's well deserved. And I really think, your talent speaks for itself, but you as an individual says it all. And I think that's why you've been so blessed.
You know, I want to thank a songwriter for setting the example. I did an early event with a legend named Floyd Tillman. That might not mean much to some of you. It does to you. Those of you who know Floyd Tillman, he had huge hits during the World War II because he was writing songs about soldiers missing the ones they loved back in the United States. And there was one song that became very famous, Each Night at 9, that they would think of each other while he was over there. You know, and then he wound up writing songs that were recorded by so many people. Willie and Merle and a lot of the great country people recorded his songs, but so did Patsy Cline and Diana Ross and the Supremes, and
even Freddie Powers.
Freddie Powers recorded, yes. And recently I realized that even Ray Charles recorded two of. I got a vinyl turntable for Christmas, a really nice one.
Yeah.
And so I've been looking for vinyl at the library, thrift store, and the resale shops, and I found one that was they knew they had a gem because this one was really marked up really high, and it was the Ray Charles country album.
Oh wow!
And they had it marked way up, $18. Yeah. So I told the lady, I said, man, this is really, you know, I said, I want this. You know, I said, all the others are $2 or $3. She said, well, that one is a really good one, so we have to get full price for that. But today is half price day, and you have that little card,
right.
so I got it for $9. Yeah.
That's great.
There you go, Forrest. So I did this show with Floyd Tillman, and I'm getting back to the point. A lady walked up to a legend like Floyd Tillman, who's had songs recorded by all of these people, Ella Fitzgerald, another one. You could go on and on, all the greats that recorded his songs. And she said, do you know You Are My Sunshine? And I'm thinking, they just asked the legendary songwriter to play You Are My Sunshine. Yeah. And he says, I love that song. And he said, I know the guy who wrote it. And he said, I'll be happy to play it for you. And You Are My Sunshine. And he starts playing You Are My Sunshine for this lady.
Aww.
So when I think about all these guys that are purists that will refuse to do anybody else's songs because, no, it's only about me today. Mm-hmm. It's only about my songs. And I think about Floyd Tillman, member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, member of the Nashville Songwriters Association Hall of Fame, and I thought, no, and he told me afterward, he says, well, if I can make somebody happy, I can make somebody happy.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
It's really about the listener.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've adopted that, and it's working for you.
Well.
That's great. Again, it has been absolutely fabulous having you here, and I look forward to you coming back and playing more stuff for us because I know you've got the music.
Well, we'll go through the 15 album drive and after,
yes.
and we'll pick. In fact, I'm really feeling inspired to leave one here with Randy so he can listen to some of those older gems that I have. And
yeah. We are looking forward to it. Thank you again for being here. And thank you for tuning in. Keep coming back. You are in the music room. All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.